It came at a great price, and yet we're trying to walk with it with no sacrifice. Moments our feelings are hurt, we're ready. Bye, y'all. Everything comes. Cost. There's a sacrifice. It's a lie. You don't get something for nothing. What are you willing to surrender to God for God to use you at a greater level? You don't just get anointed just because you want to be anointed. It requires something. It requires things. It requires deeper commitment. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes it ain't easy to love folk that you know hate you. But if you're going to walk deeper in God, you got to find a way to put feelings and your emotions aside and focus on the things of God. And not let people's junk, stupidity, dumbness distract you from your goal. And that's the end of this job. Don't get mad because people don't like you. Focus on Jesus. Go down in prayer. Pray to God do something in your spirit to where that junk don't bother you. And I promise you, if you stay praying, you will get to a place where what used to hurt me don't hurt me. What used to bother me don't bother me. That's what growth is about. But it comes at a cost, sacrifice. You got to deny yourself to get empowered with the Spirit to get above people. Or people what make you miss God. Lift your hand and say this. Come on, say it. Serve God, not people. Focus on God. Keep your eyes on the prize. That means learning how to focus, learning how to pray. Pray through. So sacrifice is the act of giving up something. What are you willing to give up to be used by God? It's surrendering or presenting something as an offering to God. What are you willing to offer God? There's two categories of sacrificial offerings that I want to talk about just for a moment, just for the sake of getting there. Have it right here. It's the material and the immaterial. That's animate or inanimate, same thing, or natural and spiritual, same thing. I just use the words that they use to define. So there are many ways to sacrifice, many kinds, but there are two categories of sacrificial offering. One is material and one is immaterial, and God requires both in order to walk this walk. He requires both. We'll see that. Let's deal with both of them right quickly, just do a few. And this will put me right in the heart of what I want to talk. Let's deal with both. Material and immaterial categories of sacrificial offering. I like this one, 2 Samuel verse 24. David, after having achieved certain military victories, like he sat back and he did what they call numbered Israel. And that was, he took account of all of his military men throughout all of the tribes. He wanted to know how many foot soldiers he had, how many this and how many that. And so he numbered to get a count on the consensus of his military power and might. That's what numbering Israel is about. And God was displeased because God said, first of all, the battles you won wasn't because of your military power.
Yes, Lord.
It was because of my anointing.
Yes. Yes.
So you can't confuse what you have. That don't guarantee you no victory.
Yes. Yes.
No matter how you look at it. So he made the mistake that we made. He took an assessment of his military to say, my God, I got some kind of military. Man, ain't nobody can come against me. And the scripture says, in 2 Samuel, it says that the thing displeased God. Yes. And the prophet Gad, who was the seer at the time, came to David to inform him of what he had done. And David said, oh, God, I have sinned against God. I have given myself credit for something that God has been doing. Yes. And God was so displeased that the Lord offered him three different ways in which to exact a punishment, so to speak, upon him. So God says now, because you sinned, these are going to be three things I'm going to offer you that you have to decide which one is going to be. And I think it came up to be, I'm going to let the enemy chase you for 3 months, and you're going to be running in pursuit of your life. That's going to be, I think maybe it's famine or something like that, maybe for so long. And then also there will be a plague for 3 days upon all Israel. The people will suffer and bear the burden of your sin. David said, I can't fall in the hands of my enemy because I know he'll destroy me. And so God says, okay, 3 days of plague. And when the plague struck, the Bible said that God released the angels of heaven. And in one night, the angels struck with a plague that knocked out about 70,000 men fell dead in one night. You need God to move. And if the cry was so great that even the heart of God was touched, and God told the angel, hold it, just hold it for a second. Hold up. But it gave the prophet enough time to go to David and say, David, I hear the voice of the Lord saying, go build an altar and make a sacrifice to God. Thank you, Jesus. That's when we pick it up. So David went to Araunah, and he wanted to, he had a certain garden, threshing floor. He wanted to give it to the king with everything to offer the sacrifice under God. Here's where David picks it up. And Gad came that day to David and said to him, go up, erect an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. He's talking about himself. And Araunah said to David, let my lord the king take and offer up whatever seems good to him. Look, here are oxen, burnt sacrifices, wood, everything, so forth and so on. David said to Araunah, no, but I will surely buy it from you at full price. The majority of us would have taken another man's offering to try to present it to God. Mess up number one. You can't give God what don't belong to you. You can't offer to God another man's sacrifice. And we are trying to take other people's possession to sacrifice. No, God requires it in your hand. You got to sacrifice out of your possession. Come on, tell the Lord thank you. Come on, tell the Lord thank you. I'm just God Almighty here. We're trying to sacrifice something that does not cost us. And sacrifice has to be something that costs you. You can't give God what doesn't belong. You can't give God another man's offering. David recognized this. He said, no, but I will surely buy it from you at full price. I ain't even trying to cut a deal. Give me the day's market value of this land, this territory, and everything. I'll buy it at full price. Look what David said. No, nor will I offer burnt offerings to the Lord my God with that which costs me nothing. I can't offer to God what doesn't belong to me. I can't offer to God without a sacrifice myself. So he said, I won't give God nothing that doesn't cost me. That which doesn't cost me nothing. So David bought, first of all, at full price, oxen and everything else. He paid full market value because he said, no, I have to do this. I'm not giving God with that which you gave me. I'm giving God that which from my own. So he paid for it. We're trying to get from God all that we can at somebody else's cost. And it doesn't work. Let's go to another one. Philippians 4:18. This is Paul now. I have all and abound. Paul says right now, I am abounding, meaning prosperous, blessed of the Lord. This is what he's talking about. I am full. Look what he said. Having received from Epaphroditus the things sent from you, a sweet smelling aroma, an acceptable sacrifice, well pleasing to God. What happened? Paul was in dire strait, trying to get from one place to another. He was broke, hungry, and everything. But the disciples, the men, the servants who were with him, sent word. And the church came together and raised a collection and sent it by the hand of Epaphroditus to give it to Paul. And Saul said, because of your sacrifice, I am now in a place of abundance and prosperous and blessed of the Lord. But he went on to say, and this was good, but it wasn't just good for me because I received it. It was good, it was to your credit that this shall abound because you had the heart to do it. That's why offerings have to be voluntary. It cannot be forced. God didn't make Jesus come down. The scripture said he stood as a lamb slain before the fire. He offered up himself as a ransom for the soul of men. It was God demanded a sacrifice, but he didn't demand Jesus. Jesus said, because nothing that man offers is worthy, I'll present my body to atone for his sin. He did it voluntarily. If it's not from your heart, it ain't a sacrifice. It's not an acceptable offering. This is monetary things. Give you two Old and New Testament to show you the monetary value of material sacrifice, and God still demands it today. That's really what this concept of Malachi, bring you all the tithes. That's not spiritual in terms of that's tangible, physical, material. That there may be meat in my house. But if you do that which is natural, I'll do something spiritual that's going to bless your natural. I'll open up heaven. Yes, it's the principle. Hebrews 13 says this, because that's too material. Look what Hebrews says. Therefore, by him, let us continually offer the sacrifice of praise to God. Here comes the immaterial, the spiritual, the inanimate. So God demands both material, both immaterial, both natural and spiritual. And if you're going to make it in this, they're going to require you to walk in both. He says, let us offer continue to God. Look at what it says, continuously, ongoing. Sacrifice of praise to God. That is the fruit of your lips. Thanksgiving to his name. So not only do I offer to God that which cost me in the material, but I got to learn how to every now and then, you got to lift your hands up and say, God, I just thank you. Paul said, it's the fruit of your lips, meaning that when you lift your hand and say, God, thank you. God, I love you. God, I just bless your name. God, I just worship you. He said, that's a sweet offering to God. Sometimes your breakthrough is not connected upon your monetary value, but upon how your willingness to lift your hand when you really don't feel like it. When you're kind of down in your spirit, but you still lift your hand and say, God, I'm going to praise you anyway. I'm just going to bless your name. Bless your name. Paul said it is an acceptable sacrifice. That's pleasing to God. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies as your mind, your soul, strength, emotions, character, personality, every aspect of your being as living sacrifices. We just read, for praises, when you thank God and bless God's name, the fruit of your lips are an acceptable offering to God, becomes an offering well-pleasing to him. To say thank you. I read one of the early fathers in the first 200 years of A.D., after Jesus' death and resurrection, talked about how God requires today sacrifices at our hands. Meaning that we have to still sacrifice unto God. And this is what becoming born again is all about. To give up this life in order to gain life eternal. Sacrifice. You don't always want to live right. This is the human nature. You don't always want to do the right. What Paul said, I find that when I would do good, evil is always present. As a tempter, a deceiver. But thanks be unto God, because there shall no evil befall us, or for us to be tempted above that which we're able to bear, but God shall provide with the temptation a way of an escape. But God, there are opportunities that come to us that we want to take. But I have to value my freedom. Value the fact that God is watching me. Value how God feels if I do this thing. Sometimes it's just in you like, God, I'm struggling with this, but I'm not doing it because I'm so holy. I'm not doing it because I just don't want to let you down. Because I know you're counting on me. I know that you're depending on me. And I don't want to let you. That's the heart of the convicted believer. But I'm not just doing it for me, but God, I don't want to let you down. Think about the next time when you're up against something and an opportunity seems convenient. If you can't do it for yourself, think about how God feels, who's entrusted you with his spirit to just do the right thing for the sake of righteousness. Not for the reward that we receive, but because it's just right to do right. He said, present your body as a living sacrifice unto God. Holy and acceptable. It costs to live holy. You can't do everything that everybody else is doing. Cost. It's got to be a sacrifice that you're willing to make. To be a Christian. Christ-like Christian. And that's what Christian is. It is Christ-like. It is like Jesus. And think about in your life, how much you do daily that is like Christ or unlike Christ. Christian, when you say I am a Christian, you're saying that I practice the same life and disciplines that Jesus practiced. I live to the best of my ability like he lives. I strive to be like him. And that comes in Christ. Because it's human nature to want to retaliate. But God is counting on you to pray even for your enemies. That's a sacrifice. That costs you tears. But how much are you willing to surrender to go higher in God? Let's start with it all. The Christian life is a sacrificial life made possible because of the sacrificial life and death of Jesus. He made this possible because he first sacrificed his own life. And so this is possible because of my Savior. And I just mentioned, look at what all he gave up. Look what all he did for us. God Almighty. Ephesians 5:2 says this, and walk in love, as Christ also has loved us, giving himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling aroma. Even Jesus, the Son of God, sacrificed for you. And you're not willing to sacrifice for him. He denied himself for your salvation. And we want to deny ourselves to just have a walk, a life that reflects that looks like him. And this was both natural and spiritual because he gave up his natural body. He disrobed the royalty of his spirit as God, dismounted, and came in the earth realm as God in a human body and offer to God that which is natural and spiritual. Thank you, Jesus. Because it requires both. And he had to present both for you to get victory. If he only gave a natural victory, that means you can get victory in the natural, but you can't get it in the spirit. If it's only spiritual, you'll get victory in the spirit, but you can't get it in the natural. But to have both natural and spiritual victory, Christ had to present that which is natural and spiritual to secure victory in every category of your life. Gave up something for us. Touch that neighbor there and say sacrifice. You can't live this life without sacrifice. It costs you something to serve God. You got to surrender something to follow Jesus. We can't do nothing with the Christians that don't want to sacrifice nothing. You can't do nothing with them. It demands that you surrender something. Otherwise, we say, I'm a Christian, and you act like the world. Rob, steal, kill, murder. God forgive sin. Don't judge me. So we're trying to enjoy the benefits of glory without sacrificing anything. And if you're going to get victory, it demands that you surrender. I like one thing that was called off, one of them, scholar of mine, who said that the greatest gift that God can give to man is himself. And now, here's the other side. We're giving God everything but our hearts. And the heart is the first thing he got to have. Because until God changes your heart, you still a sinner. I just got to tell it to you. No matter how much you go to church, how much you do, until your heart is changed, you're a sinner. Until God changes your heart. That's why Jesus said, Barrett, I say unto you, you must be born again. If the heart is not changed, it don't matter. You can't buy your way into heaven. As great as sacrifice is, you can't sacrifice your way to glory. God got to change your heart. Sometimes we use things to replace people's commitment. I'll give God my money, I ain't giving him my time. But God demands commitment in every area of your life. Can we get ready to go on this close? We'll give you a story that's going for. And I'll teach you some more next Sunday. You know, I don't feel like I did justice today. Let me give you a story that is the same story that I'm giving, but to show you that it's in the Bible more than once. Y'all know the story of Jonah. Yeah. The Gentile people, wayward heathens. God gave Jonah the word. Jonah entered the city, and Jonah went in, he cried out and said, in 40 days, Nineveh shall be overthrown. Will be tore down. God gonna bring judgment upon them. 40 days. This city gonna be utterly laid waste. God gonna judge this unrighteousness. 40 days. God get through, ain't gonna be nothing left. And he wanted it to happen. So the people of Nineveh, when the word came, what happened? Now these are Gentiles at that time, not chosen people, but God always desires men to be saved. Yes, yes. It's made